Welcome to the Wisdom of Jacob's Ladder. I'm your host, Jacob Cooper, best-selling author of Life After Breath and the Wisdom of Jacob's Ladder. For those of you who are new to the Wisdom of Jacob's Ladder podcast, we encourage you to check out our channel and consider to support us by hitting that subscribe button as well as bell notification icon to be a part of a growing community here. Today's guest in the Wisdom of Jacob's Ladder is Julie Reisler. Julie is an author, intuitive, counselor, and she's just all things the Wisdom of Jacob's Ladder. As you were in for a treat today, as Julie has tremendous insight, wisdom, and tools that you could utilize during your everyday life to enhance your intuition and to be more in tune with flow. So without further ado, we bring on Julie Reisler on the Wisdom of Jacob's Ladder. Julie Reisler, it's such an honor to have you here as my guest on the Wisdom of Jacob's Ladder. I cannot wait for this conversation. I've been waiting for it for quite some time. So thank you for coming in as my honored guest.
I am so excited to be here. I know this conversation is going to be uplifting and I can already feel quite magical. So thank you for having me, Jacob. Thank you.
Oh yeah, I had the distinct honor of being introduced to you by a mutual clinician friend of ours, and I was on your incredible podcast, your Youest You, I think it was a couple of years ago, and so now it's just so great to have you here on my channel, but you're someone who's really making a lot of grounds from the ground up. You do a lot of work from podcasting to author. You're a powerhouse educator working in academia, and you also do a lot of, public speaking and stuff like that. So you really are moving a lot of minds and hearts. But for viewers who haven't really heard of you, I'm sure they might be living under a rock because you're really getting out there. But can you tell us a little bit about your current work and what maybe prompted you to get into this field of intuitive work and counseling? And you're really helping people on such a plethora of levels. It's beautiful to see.
Yeah, it's a great question. And actually, the way that I would start and even answer that is this work really found, saved, and healed me.
Wow.
So it wasn't like I was set out to work in the realm of consciousness and intuition and even, coaching, conscious coaching. That was not where I thought I was going. And probably like others listening,
Right.
oftentimes some of the hardest moments in our life end up at some point, not typically in the moment, but at some point for me, ended up being one of the biggest gifts. So, I had a background in psychology and public health. I didn't know about the coaching field. This is over 25 years ago, and worked in corporate America and HR and was married, 2 young children. And I'll just share really briefly, I had struggled with addiction. I'm sure there are others watching that have struggled with addiction. For me, it showed up actually with food and sugar, but certainly can go into other areas. And it was a way to manage all of the emotions I was having. And frankly, I did not realize that I was a highly sensitive, highly empathic person. I could feel my father had PTSD, was in Vietnam, and he didn't talk about it. And I could feel his thoughts and sense them. And I could feel his self-loathing and frustration and depression. And it didn't appear that way. He was always very loving and kind and all about making sure I felt loved, but I could feel the sadness. And I didn't know what to do with all these emotions I had. I wasn't loved my parents. I wasn't taught how to handle them. And so I've learned now, being, energy is everything. Food is actually very grounding. And I use that, I think, as a way to ground myself and also to avoid feeling. And frankly, got into really having issues around shame and not feeling good enough and not loving myself. And so I started a lot of this deep inner work through support groups, 12 steps, over 25 years ago. And in that excavation process, I didn't realize what would happen is I really shifted into a space of not only learning to love myself, but connecting into consciousness, connected, conscious contact with the divine, with higher power, with my higher self. And that has changed my life and also, created one of the most biggest challenges in my life, which was waking up and realizing, hearing my soul say to me, "You're not okay," in my marriage. I mean, I woke up in a panic attack. Interestingly, at 3:33 in the morning.
Wow. Wow. An angel number. Yeah.
Yeah. And so anyhow, that I'll spare all the details, but that awakening, which was very, very, very uprooting and challenging and not what I was planning, really got me in tune with what was going on in my heart at the deepest level. My intuition like kind of blossomed, and this is 14 years ago, and that sort of led me in this path where I just, anything that didn't feel aligned, Jacob, I wasn't, it's like I couldn't do it. So left my corporate day job. I went back and got my degree in coaching, health and wellness coaching, from an integrative perspective. I ended up amicably ending my marriage. That marriage, I am remarried, but that was really challenging with 2 young kids. I mean, everything that I was on, the path that I was on, is like a different path today. And it just, I always say my business, my life, what I'm up to today is intuitive led. It's intuition powered. And I believe that our superpower, our soul's compass, is buried, is hopefully not buried. That's what we're talking about, but is part of it's in our intuition. So that's a little bit about my story.
Incredible, Julie. You're a real example of someone who's transformed their lives, kind of like that phoenix out of the ashes, the healer's journey. But it seemed for you there was a different governing force in your life now versus what was guiding that path before. For many of my viewers, a common question is, what is the purpose of difficult moments or challenges? For yourself, have you found that there is, a degree of a purpose behind, pain or crises? And, if so, how has that impacted you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of my favorite poets and mystics that I turn to. There's many and that have passed on, and some that are here. I'm a big fan of Rumi, the
Mm,
Sufi mystic, and he talks, I think, and I can't quote it exactly, but the idea is that to heal, we have to go all the way to the root of the wound and kiss
mm,
it all the way through. Um, it's the antithesis of what we as human beings think and feel. Like, I know for me, the last thing I wanted to do was to dive deep into my pain around how I felt about myself, and then my marriage ending, and other things that come up right in life. What I'm learning through this experience, this school we call life, is it's actually crucial. The healing happens when we allow ourselves and know that it's safe to go deep into the wound, into the darkness, which what I've been learning is actually in that darkness. You think about, we all started in the womb. We all started in our mother's womb. The womb is dark. There's darkness in there. I could go way more into the darkness of the womb and the cosmic womb. I I can share this later. I've actually had memories of being in my mother's womb, which might sound
wow. Wow.
real. It's hard to explain, but since I've been little, and I always thought, oh yeah, everybody has that. I have this. I'm very grateful because I have this feeling, sense, memory of being in there, and it's the darkness and the heartbeat and just feeling the water and the fluid and feeling really taken care of. And it's in that darkness that we are created. So
Mm,
it's in the wound, it's in the darkness that we are able to see, oh wow, that my divinity, my connection to the divine
mhm,
is in all spaces. It's not just in the light. It's not just in the positive and happy. And I am somebody who would have, like, never in a million years, that's what I was avoiding. That's why I was
mm,
using food and sugar and anything to not be in the darkness. And I've learned through many experiences, it's taken time, that's where, if we're courageous and brave enough. And that's why I think your show is so important, and having others on the journey that we can listen to and connect to, know we're not alone. It's like what Ram Dass said, we are all walking each other home. And in the darkness,
that's
it
right.
can be hard, really hard, but worth it.
Mm, mm. Yeah, well, Julie, first and foremost, I work, as you know, in the field of hypnosis and past life regression. And so throughout the years in groups and individual sessions, part of what we try to do within the past life regressions is to have clients remember those evocative memories in womb, in utero. And so I'm here to tell you that you're not alone in that memory. There are a lot of people who do have those memories. So yeah, but I love that analogy, finding that light in the darkness. It's kind of like that quote by Albert Camus, it says, within the depths of the winter, therein lies an infinite eternal summer. And I think you're a living embodiment of that, going through your own crises and being able to, go out, as I say, in order to get the fruit in the tree, you must go out on a limb. That book by Shirley MacLaine. And for you, you've tried something different. But for yourself, what would you say is the dynamic and relationship of your beliefs and your behaviors? Because there seem to be one set of beliefs, influencing behaviors, and now um, there's a different. And so for viewers, how could they find ways to understand that dynamic, and what is the significance of it?
Mm, it's a deep and beautiful question. I'm sure anyone that's tuning in, like attracts like, right? We're here to elevate our consciousness, to be more heart-centered, to be living a life of purpose and meaning and heart and love. And frankly, for me, really to add healing, right? To have healing in myself, and then to share that and to be here to be of service. I can imagine anyone listening, we're on a similar path. I would imagine that. And I think, that the life of unfolding, becoming more conscious, becoming more aware, becoming more heart-centered, it's a good thing that beliefs are changing, right? To me, it's a positive, it's growth oriented. I think of the heliotropic, how plants, they move towards the sun. And for me, and I would imagine our listeners, we're looking to grow towards the sun. So that's to say that my beliefs, what is the sun? What is that light? What is that guiding source? I really believe at the core, what we're, at least I will speak for myself, what I've been seeking, and I think many of us are seeking, is to know that I'm not alone, that I'm not even, yes, I, can have people around me. I have children, I have a spouse, I have a cat, but ultimately there can be this feeling of, it can be confusing. I can feel very alone at times. Like, where is this divine, all-loving God? Like, what is that? And where is that? And how do I tap into that? And for me, that's really the question that I look to grapple with and to be with every day. It's a daily practice to connect. And for me, the most important thing is connecting at a spiritual level. And I'm not talking about religion. They're all different ways of honoring this oneness. I think they're all valid. For me, it's really that spiritual connection that my belief has shifted into. The most important thing I can do, Jacob, is connect into this all-loving divine intelligence that I know is within each of us, but it's within me, and to do my best to listen and only take actions when I feel that alignment. I don't always do that perfectly. I'm not doing that all the time, but that's my aim. Life has really looks very different doing it that way versus, running a life that I'm trying to control. And so, as someone who liked to have control, a big lesson for me is letting go of that control and allowing something greater, the divine, God, whatever you call it, to guide me. And I have a business. I say that God is my employer, God is my director, the divine is my producer. I try to bring that energy in first, and I just feel like you can't go wrong when you step into that loving energy first.
There seems like there's such a transformative dynamic when you develop a sense of trust, in that energy, whether you call it the universe or God. Albert Einstein had that famous quote, in terms of the governing forces of our life, is God, or the universe ambivalent? Is it working against us or is it working with us? And it seems for you, your life has shifted once you've been able to understand that God and the universe is working with you and through your work, and your work is amazing. So that degree of trust over our own fears or our desire to control seems like a pivotal element. But yeah, it's amazing how you mentioned, in utero, we're born from day one. And, hopefully the majority of us aren't, people don't say, hey, what an ugly baby. That's, the kid's, not good enough. It's not skinny enough. It's not smart enough. They say, wow, what a beautiful child. But somewhere down the line, that child develops a sense of, I am not enough, and they start to believe in things. And it seems like for you, you've been able to tune into a creator that really loves you, and you love it, and it developed a sense of trust in your inner being over some of the things that we've all been inherited. So that's a beautiful transformation, it seems, for you.
And I would just say it's a continuum. It's,
Mm.
some moments I feel that more than others. It's a practice. And to me, what I've seen, I do a lot of tracking and evidence of what it looks like when I am running the show. They say like ego run wild is edging greatness out, edging God out, however you want to call it. And when I'm really looking to align with my soul, with the divine. And it's so obvious now, I can see, and that can be helpful for people to look. When have you listened to that small whisper, your intuition, versus when have you overread that voice? And there's no compare. I mean, it's so obvious, the difference, that it helped me. I'm somebody still, left brain, raised in Boston, right next to all the university. I mean, I was just raised in this left brain logic society. It's taken years to really to trust in it. And we all have this capacity. I think part of the journey we're making is the 18 inches, from our head to our heart. And that's important.
I love that.
See a very big difference. Yeah. It's the longest journey I know of. I mean, I just telling you, I went to Santa Fe. No, 18 inches head to heart. Let me tell you something, way longer.
Yeah. It for many people, it could be like torture. You have two different voices constantly pulling at you, but when they're synergized, your life has a greater symphony to it. It's a more beautiful octave in your life. But I love the fact that you mentioned that we are all intuitive. I was kind of like fanboying out a little bit on your podcast, and I saw that, correct me if I'm wrong, you did interview Laura Lynn Jackson. Is that correct? So
Yeah.
I know she has, we're affiliated with the Forever Family Foundation, and she's just incredible. But one of the quotes that the foundation always likes to say is, we could do this work, the work of a medium and intuitive, like we're all intuitive. So that's something that you've really found within your work, that each person has that bit of intuition.
Absolutely. I love Laura. I actually did a weekend with her at Omega, and then I studied with Suzanne Giesman, and have done a lot around this area around mediumship and intuition. And I can tell you, because I've seen it now over and over again, I believe it. We all have the batteries included. We all have intuitive batteries included. Now, for some, it might be, a gift that was really heightened early on. I know in your case, I didn't recognize the gift I had because it showed up sort of in a interesting backwards way, reading energy and people's thoughts in my family and people around me. And I just was really sensitive to lighting and people and spaces.
Sure.
We all first of all, we're all made of energy. We all are connected in the same unified field, and we can all tap into our intuition. There's not one human being that doesn't have it. I really believe that. And it can take practice. It can take time and intention and attention. But we all have this ability to tap into the greater unified field of loving intelligence. I know it. I know it.
Without a shadow of a doubt, Absolutely. What would you say are, from your work and working with your clientele, in developing intuition and empowerment, what would you say are some of the common barriers through your own personal life and your experience in your professional life that might hinder one's, intuitive connectivity?
Yeah, it's a great question. In addition to teaching the coaching fundamentals at Georgetown, I also have my own coaching certification. I've been teaching students from all over the world, and we go deep into intuition because to be a really excellent counselor or coach, it's crucial to be able to, first of all, hold that sacred space and also be able to distinguish when you are getting your own intuition and when perhaps your client is connecting to their intuition or not. And I think two things I would say. One would be this doubting, because we are so heavily focused on logic and our school systems are, I mean, don't get me started on that. We are so focused on following left brain logic for the most part. And I'm feeling a tingling in my head as I say that. So interesting. I'm getting this like, yeah, just
You,
yes.
you're in the groove, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I can feel it right here. So doubting ourselves, doubting, fearing it. And I think the second is, it probably comes under the aspect of fear or uncertainty, meaning, well, what is intuition? This is what I get a lot. How do I know if it's intuition or just fear? Like, how do I know the difference? And we talk about that a lot. I mean, it's something we can go into if you're interested, because I think that can get in the way. I think the self-doubt and the fear and the, I'm not sure if this is, it comes under those two: uncertainty and doubt and fear.
Would you also say the disempowerment has a role in it, where someone will say, hey, that's for Julie, but not for me. Like that's for someone who's like, this big superstar like Julie, but not myself. I can't do that. Is that also a part of it too? Or
Yeah, it's funny. I wouldn't relate to myself in that way, but I think, anytime we have somebody that's stepping up, Laura Lynn Jackson, Suzanne, others that are, I'm a medium, I am doing intuitive messages. So there can be, and I think that's a great point to look at and say, okay, I might be in a different point right now in relationship with intuition, but let's not put people on pedestals, number one. And number two, I know for me, when I'm teaching about it, it's, yes, I have really honed in and I can feel it is growing and expanding because it's a relationship. I've spent a lot of energy and time over the last 14, 15 years really honing in on my intuition because I feel like it's my lifeline. It's my power source. It's like I plug in my electric car. I got to plug myself in. That's how I plug in, is through intuition, through the divine. So, but we all have it. And I do think that can be one for sure. Like that person, Jacob has it. He does hypnosis. But we don't, it's like anything, compare is to despair. And, I would say start tuning in so you can start to really get to know this gift that's included in you. And the first place to start is awareness and curiosity. Looking in the past and saying, when did I have maybe a gut feeling or a small voice, or, oh yeah, I got that sign, or, you know what, it actually comes to me in visions. Like really get some clarity around how your intuition is connecting with you, because we all have different ways of connecting in, and to start getting the difference. That ego fear voice is not the same. Your intuition will never yell at you, never shame you. It might say something, like for me, it was I remember waking up hearing, you're not okay here. And I had to deal with that, but it was a knowing, it was kind. It wasn't yelling or shaming me in any way.
Wow. So, I mean, just to touch on a point that you made a little bit earlier, just correct me if I'm wrong, the discernment of intuition versus, let's say, the monkey mind, as we call it, or just that, mind that doesn't stop, is intuition has a bit of a flow to it, a piece to it, like an insight that maybe isn't coming from your own thoughts and experience, something other. You would say you would support that, or?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say the signature of intuition, the energy blueprint of intuition is going to have that quiet, often not a lot of words. It's if you're hearing it, or if it's word based, if it's a vision, it might just flash in front of you. You might get a knowing in your body. It's usually like I say, it's like a deep sense of truth and wisdom. There's a quiet peacefulness to it. It might tell you turn right now, but it's not, if you're driving, I've had this before in many different ways. It's got a loving, quiet, truthful presence. It's never going to be something that shouts at you, that berates you, that judges you. I mean, I just personally believe our divine, loving creator has no judgment at all. So that's coming from, that aspect of our ego, of our mind that is want to protect us. And that's okay. It's just, that's not intuition.
It's very gentle, warm, comforting, nurturing, in other words, you would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. For clients who might want to get intuitive or maybe more intuitive, have you found particular exercises? I mean, obviously, I know you run courses and this stuff, which we'll get into throughout the course of our dialogue, but are there any specific tools or just patterns that people could do to maybe heighten that intuition, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of what I teach and have coming up in some of the courses I'll be leading and programs will be going deep into the tools that I use every day that have helped me. There are some very basic tools. First of all, these tools are free. They're part of how we're wired. So I just want to say, I love using oracle cards and a pendulum, and those are great things to use. You also have, and I'll share one of my favorite tools, is learning how to muscle test an answer or a question that you have. So many of us, what do we do? We're not sure about something. Do I go on that date? Do I leave my job? Do I go on that trip? Should I move? Whatever the question is, should I eat that food? There's a lot of, and then there's energy around that question, and then those questions, and we can create doubt and overwhelm, and then we ask other people. And what I've learned is it may not come right away, but the answer is truly, there is a what's in your highest good. It is known within you, within your body, within your soul. So this is something I've used, and I've taught my coaches that I've been teaching. You can use a very simple, there's a lot of ways to do muscle testing, but the most simple way is the sway test. It's very easy. And I can, show it so that people can start using it.
I'd love to see it. Yeah.
Right. I use it for everything. So what you want to do, if I would say stand, I'm already standing. So you want to stand and ground yourself. And first, what you want to do is ask your body. So for most human beings, when we are wanting something or we're feeling a connection or a desire, we lean forward, we lean in. Notice your body language when there's someone you just love, right? You want to especially
you want to be close to them, or you gravitate to them. Yeah.
You lean forward. And if there's somebody you feel like, I'm not sure about their energy, what do? We lean back. So for most human beings, that is your yes and no. Yes being that leaning in, no being farther away. So I would say to just test it first. So you ask, and I like to put my hand on my heart. I just like to connect into that way. And I'll ask myself, show me a yes. And I might ask a question that I know is a yes. Do I
is my name Julie? I don't know.
It's my name Julie. Yeah. And I'm like already feeling I'm leaning in, right?
Right.
My name's Fred. And I'm like, nope.
Right.
So I can feel it. Now I've done this a lot, and I don't even have to move. I can feel myself, but start just noticing your body, and then start asking questions, the questions that you're concerned about. This is one, there's many other techniques I use. This is a really simple one. Go to dinner. Is this dish going to be for my highest good for my body? Right. And usually what I think is going to be the best is not. We just did this. I was away with my husband and found these amazing restaurants that were healthy. And some of them still, I'm like, not really. And I would look at the item and I'm like, should I get that? And I could feel myself moving back. And I'm like, crap, it's not good for me. But, then I can decide. Maybe I ate it anyhow. But we know we can be empowered. So try it, use it, track it, notice what you're noticing. It's very powerful. It's very trippy. It's like, whoa, something's going on that I didn't even realize.
And versatile too. Like you mentioned something and it's not small. I mean, food is a big part of life, but that indecisiveness and geez, I mean, how many disputes happen with, what restaurant you should go to if you're in a relationship. And so just being in tune with your decisions is significant.
Should I take this course? Should I take this trip? Should I be in this relationship? I mean, these can go for any question you have.
Yeah. Well, I suggest viewers keep on practicing this. Try it out. I know it's very effective, and Julie's work really stands on its own. So really do try it out, experiment it, and see, the difference that you might feel, within the decisions of your life and that guiding force. There's also like a bit of a dynamic going on in mindfulness, and a word that's used is flow. I don't know if you've heard that thrown around, but flow is a big one. Would you say that's a part of living an intuitive life, is being in a state of just flow and ease, and just you're able to just like navigate waters through just just this force that's kind of propelling your life?
Yeah, I love the term flow, and I think there's a lot of ways to describe this. I'm a big fan of Abraham Hicks. I was just there at a conference recently, and they talk about going downstream, being in the current versus upstream. There's that flow, just as you said it, Jacob, really beautifully. Everything's energy when we are allowing, when we are letting go, surrendering, trusting, being guided, tuning into it's also very empowering. I will say that what we're talking about, I think for people that if you feel a sense of lack of control or disempowerment, these tools, tuning in and learning to trust yourself and your intuition, it's healing. I've found it healing in my body. And I think that sense of flow is absolutely there, because what are you doing? You're tuning in, you're moving with the current that's there. You're moving in with alignment. So when you're doing that, water is a great element to tap into. You really are flowing downstream in that river of energy. And I don't know about you. I've definitely put myself in, I've definitely chosen, I would say, at times to push against, to
Resist.
to make something happen. I actually think if you look at a lot of our culture with hyper productivity, I'm not saying taking action isn't important and achievement isn't important, but I've learned as a recovering overachiever type A person, really, like it's actually not in flow for me to push at that level. And we all have different levels of what's healthy and healing. But I can feel the difference today, and I've just noticed a huge difference even in my peace of mind and in my health, actually.
Wow. And I know for many viewers, everyone has their own battles, their own struggles. And I think certainly from the ground up, it doesn't immunize what's in front of you, but allows you to move through that thing a little bit differently when you're tuned into a higher force. Like I view it as almost Wi-Fi. It's going to take a lot of data and battery away when you're on 1 bar and trying to make that call versus you're in 4 or 5. It's an easier call. And I think when we have something in front of us, it allows us to not struggle as much kind of difficulty, but allow this force to propel us, through that in a way.
Yeah.
Is that kind of.
Yeah. Can I add to that? Because I got this whole image. I'm like, oh, wait. And I heard say this.
Improv, add, please.
Okay.
This is your wheelhouse here. So, yeah.
So fun. I'm like, wait a minute. So, well, I think what's important, what you were just saying with the Wi-Fi, this idea that being a radio tower, right? Here's the thing. We're all channeling all the time. It's what are you channeling? What are you connecting into? What level of energy, frequency, right? And so to be a clear channel, and this is what I think about, I look at it, mind, body, soul, right? So what am I doing to keep my mind flowing in a peace, like a river, not like a torrent, like a hurricane or tornado? So, meditation, mindfulness practices, prayer, connecting in, our bodies are also receiving, right? It's a vessel that we live in. So, am I gunking it up with certain foods or not taking care of it enough or not sweating enough or not? I mean, all of these things. And then of course our thoughts, right? Like what thoughts am I letting in? I know you talk about this, but it really, that 3-pronged stool makes a huge difference in receiving your higher guidance. That's what I've experienced in my almost 50 years on this planet.
Wow. That's what I love about these conversations is the organic element and how when you're talking to an intuitive, you could say something so brilliant and seamless. And I know my viewers will really take in those words that you just said. And I really recommend viewers to, constantly go back to all parts of this conversation, but that was a significant piece, Julie, that you just added to intuition and flow and trust. So do thank you. That really moved me myself. Now, can you talk a little bit about your work as an author? Because, writing a couple books myself, that's not an easy journey, particularly when, you might have family or kids or stuff involved. So how did you get to that part of yourself? You were able to tell your story. And for some of my viewers who, are maybe held back from, their own story of writing a book, like what types of insight have you found through your own journey that's allowed you to be this wonderful published author and this wonderful author that you are?
Thank you. No, I will. It's funny. It all goes back again to, I think, this experience of doing life where I was in the lane of people pleasing and really not connected to my heart, my intuition, myself. In the healing journey of excavating myself and really getting the importance for me, my greater purpose is to be of service. It's to be of service. And I really believe we all have different gifts, beautiful gifts. And we all have different ways of being of service and adding healing and loving consciousness here. I really do. And for me, when I started my business, which was completely intuitively, divinely led, it made no sense. Jacob, I was I had a really good job in HR for a very well-known, Fortune 500 company. They liked me. I had benefits. Like, it made no sense. I was a single mom at the time. I had 2 kids under the age of, I believe, 6 at the time. So it was like, what are you doing? Like, what, to leave? And I just kept hearing this inner voice say, it's time. It's time. You're ready to help others in this way. And I made a decision. I just made a decision to follow that and trust it. And so the same inner voice and sense came to me when I was writing my book. It said, it's time to write your book. You're going to write your book, and in a very loving way. And so it is hard. I'll tell you, especially when my kids were younger, it was really challenging. I lived farther away from their school, from their father. So I had to get to what was my why. Why was this important to me? And this is what I would say for anyone with a goal or something that's, you want to write a book, you maybe want to start a podcast, maybe you want to get your hands in a side business or something you love, go to why is this important for you? And why is it important for others that you may not even know yet? And how would you feel about this 5 years from now? 10 years from now. And that just changed everything. I wrote this book like a birth in 9 months. I hand wrote it.
Wow. Wow.
Which is not something I'd recommend, but for me, it felt like I was journaling. It made it much more fun. I'm a Sagittarius and I love fun.
Life for the party, aren't you, Sagittarius?
It has to be fun. And if I'm writing, so I would light a candle, I would write in my journal, and it just flowed. And same thing with, writing this book, starting a podcast. All of this has been that inner guidance saying, do this, do that. And I have chosen to follow it. It wasn't easy. I have another book. It's funny. I just wrote in my, I have a little God box where I write my little notes like, hey, like universe, what is your will here? Cause I am not sure. I'm getting a sense, but so I just said this morning, I know this book, I've got a couple different titles, make it clear. Just if this is the book to write now, make it clear, guide me. I'm ready. I'm listening. And that has helped me. And then I just do my thing and it doesn't fail. I'll get a sign, I'll get a message, I'll get someone who says, oh, Julie, are you looking for help writing your book or whatever it is? And this is for all of us. We are so guided, from loving higher realms, from the unseen, from the other side, whatever you call it, across the veil, the unseen to our eyes. It doesn't mean they're not here. And for me, that's the most important thing, is tapping in to be led and guided, because my cute brain, she does not, I'm not holding the planets spinning. I'm not holding the earth and the sun, but there is a universal loving power that is. And I would really prefer to get guidance from that, not me.
Love it. Love it. So it's really trusting in this higher force, this higher power, and just being in flow. So Julie, you also mentioned, I know throughout the course of our conversation, that oracle cards play a big role in your personal life, but do you also, work with clients? And maybe for our viewers who are interested, is there a particular card that may be speaking to it? Because I know my viewers absolutely love, cards and decks. We just had an oracle card reader come on my show last week, so we're always looking for the energy and the vibration of the week. Is there something that you're called to, or you could speak to regarding the oracle cards?
Yeah, this has been one of the most fun ways. As I said, fun is, and I think fun's important. The vibration of fun is happy and joyful and light and flowy. And I love oracle cards. I love oracle cards, Jacob. I think you can tell. And I've got a stack. I'm looking over to the right where my little altar is. I've got probably 30 different decks. The one actually, I feel it's kind of funny, but I actually have my own deck. It's a deck of intentions. And I like this deck. I use it myself. It's so funny. When I created this, I created it for myself originally. I was like, I want a deck of cards that has an intention and questions, like an intention with some questions, so that I can think about that for the day. And I have a little place that I keep it here. So I'm happy to share. It's my USU. You can kind of see it, the USU intention deck.
USU. Wow. I know that's your that's your trademark. We'll have to get into a little bit of the explanation behind that too. But I love that. I love that slogan.
Yeah. Well, tapping into your higher self, your most authentic self, really is, to me. We all have the masks that we wear, the stories we tell ourselves, and there is this absolutely incredibly higher aspect of ourselves, our soul self, and so that's what I think of with the USU, and we all have access to it. So I'll shuffle these and then see what we got. I'm just going to close my eyes and ask to be guided. May this card that is selected is for the highest good of everybody tuning in. This one is just kind of lighting up, and I'm getting 2. So I'm going to pull these 2. But the first one, oh, I love this one. Okay. The first one, I'll show it to you. I don't know if you can see it.
Self-expression, does it say?
Self-expression. And is it okay if I do a moment of because something's coming through? Is it okay to share what's coming through me as I read this?
We would love to hear.
Okay. Okay. All right. Because I'm seeing an image and like, okay. So the intention is, I've come to this world to become the greatest expression of my truest self. Your USU. I allow myself to be fully self-expressed and to share my sacred voice, gift, skills, and talents with the world. There's some questions here to ask yourself. Where in my life have I felt fully self-expressed? What was that like? What did I notice and feel? Where have I felt stuck in my self-expression? What can I do about that today? What I'm seeing is that blue, beautiful energy around the throat and the throat chakra. And I'm feeling like there's others like me who have something going on, either with a feeling like you're holding back, or actual thyroid things going on. And so what I'm seeing is really tuning in to the power of your throat chakra, your expression, your self-expression, and doing that in a way that is aligned, that's empowered, that's truthful for you. It's not always easy to do that. And I can sense that for some, there's like a swallowing back. This is what I did. And I actually believe the thyroid issue that I have been healing is connected to not speaking truth. I'm just feeling there's others listening that are swallowing or holding back. I can almost feel like tears or stuffing it down. And may this be a moment to pause and allow yourself. A good way to do that is humming or singing. And to allow for whatever you're feeling from your heart to come through your throat. And so you might even picture green is typically heart chakra, blue. You could picture like that green or pink to blue, the energy. But I'm feeling like self-expression is going to be very healing for many who are listening.
Do tune into that. And yes, I could certainly attest that sound healing, making your own humming sounds could really be helpful to really find that deep inner voice. And for my own practice, I'm sure you found that the more you do it, the more you find that your voice doesn't just come from here, it comes from here in your gut too, and it comes from a lower, energy as well too. So your voice is much more than just projections out of your vocal cords. It's the voice of your soul. And highly recommend Julie's just recommendation of really that sound healing that you can do, or even that gentle Reiki on that area would be great. But yes, self-expression, do try to tune into that. That's very important.
There's a last thing I'll add. I didn't know I was going to talk about this. I keep frankincense right here. And what I'll do is I'll rub it in my hands for those of you who feel like you've had a loss of power. So what I do is I inhale it and I'll put my hands on my throat and I'll say, I stand in my divine power. I stand in my power. I'm fully self-expressed. So I'm just hearing that might be something for others watching. It's very easy to get that. Or if that is not the scent you like, then go to one that you like. But essential oils, it works in a way, I'm sure, it shifts the whole, your olfactory, it can stop the flow of those beliefs and thoughts that are really negative. And it's, I believe, very healing. So that was the first, intention. And the second one, I love this one. I actually think
gratitude, right? Yes.
The most powerful healing forces. So I'll just read it quickly. Gratitude is one of the elixirs for a joyful and happy life. I choose just for today to avoid negative mind chatter and to look at all that I'm grateful for, even in tough situations I may face. And then, it says, as you build your gratitude muscle, you will rewire your brain to focus first on gratitude. What we focus on expands. This reminds me of what you asked in the beginning, Jacob, that, and that's the piece, right? Can you be in a tough, challenging moment, overwhelmed, doubt, sadness, anger, wherever you are? And where can you see maybe an area to be thankful for, grateful for? Or what can also help is I know for me, I do a practice of really going to all the aspects of my body that's working, the billions of cells that are working on your behalf. And of course, we want to feel gratitude. It's not just writing it and thinking it. You really want to power it up with the emotion.
Deep felt gratitude, not just the thought, but really something you're anchored. Yeah. And what do they say that attitude, not aptitude, just defines your altitude in a way. But I think the gratitude of attitude really helps people, just finding that one thing, even if it's being able to, if you're able to breathe today, if you're able to move your fingers or walk, go to the bed, whatever that is, there's always something that we could be grateful for. And again, it's really about just owning our own just thought waves and patterns and being the master of our own lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and going back to receiving information from the higher realms or higher self, intuition, gratitude, the energy of gratitude, when you feel it, is in this similar vibrational patterning, of love, of appreciation, of connection, of oneness. So we receive at the level of what we're feeling and what we're experiencing. And what I keep hearing over and over again for myself, for anyone listening still, is to really make sure you're experiencing, you're flooding your body with the feeling of gratitude. It's not just a thought process. We don't want to stay stuck in our head about it. That's not what it is about. It's about that intention of really, like, having a pet, a child, a friend can be very easy to focus on and feel the cascading, all those good hormones that come from gratitude.
Oh my God. And it's very congruent with your work, which is about empowerment. I
Yeah.
mean, so many people will hold their breath for certain situations to pan out the way that they want to in order to release it. So it's not once things, work themselves out, then you'll find gratitude. It's, I think, once you find that embodiment or connectivity, gratitude, then things will work themselves out. So it's a very empowered position and just allows you to get that power back versus life having to kind of bend to a certain way or shape for you to appreciate it. So yeah, that Julie, you do so much regarding your work in academia, your podcast, your USU, which I highly recommend. I know Julie's interviewed the likes of Marianne Williamson, Neil Donald Walsh, who's been on our channel, like I mentioned, Laura Lynn Jackson, just to name a few. So she really has tremendous people on our channel. But can you tell the viewers maybe what are you working on at this moment that they could maybe access? Because I know there's always something brewing around the corner with all things Julie Reisler. Yeah.
It's like all things Julie Reisler plus the divine, right? Like, because it feels like I'm just being nudge, but thank you for asking. Yeah, I mean, love being here with you and getting to continue with my show. For me, what I'm really excited about right now is this was I wake up and I get these like messages, right? And the message was, it's time to create an oasis, a sanctuary, a place for light workers, spiritual seekers, conscious coaches to come together, where I'm going to be giving intuitive messages. And I was guided, and I literally asked, are you sure? Like, I've done this before, but this is part of what I'm doing. And it was a very strong yes. You're going to be, once a month, we'll be doing intuitive guided messages. And then we'll also be meeting to really learn what I would say is it's like an energy lab. You're going to learn how to manage your energy, how to trust and harness your intuition, and how to become magnetic. So whatever it is you are looking to create, what you desire to attract, it starts with your energy, with your connection to your inner guidance, and really practicing and playing. It's going to be so much fun. I already have, we're starting in July. So you can try a month and cancel at any time, but I really think it's going to be a powerful, spiritual, high vibrational community, where we're going to get to play and learn and grow and experience miracles together. That's my intention.
I love that because so many people call me up and they're always constantly asking for communities or groups to be a part of. Like you said before, loneliness is a big epidemic these days. And so for you, here you have this beautiful sanctuary for people just to be themselves. Maybe they come from families or cultures or religious belief systems that may have a stigma or judgment to them. And here, is a safe way not only to be yourself, but there's a developmental piece to this. And I do love it. So for viewers who want to get in on this sanctuary, what would be the best way to really go about it? Because July is coming up and, we're right there next week already. The 4th of July is next week, right? So it's just nuts. Yeah.
Yeah, I know it is a little nuts. On my website, the easiest thing to do, if you go to juliereisler.com/sanctuary, and you can check it out, see what you think. And I'm happy to share, this is for my community on YouTube, but anyone that's listening, if you want to try a month and just have a month free and see what you think, use the coupon code Sanctuary YouTube, and you'll get the first month free. And just come in and see what you think. It's going to be, I can tell you, with the people that have already, the beautiful souls that have already signed up. And what I want to say is, it doesn't, religion, wherever you're coming from, it doesn't matter. As long as you're heart centered and soulful and you want a place to expand in your heart and your intuition, all human beings are welcome that are on that, on the path of doing this work of heart and growth and love and trust and connection and oneness. That's really, there's no prerequisite. You can have zero experience connecting to your intuition, but I will tell you, you will not come out the same person. That is for sure.
I love it. Well, it's like, I know we could relate to this, being a similar faith backgrounds, but Abraham had his tents open at all four corners for all to come. And so, yeah, this is a great way for everyone to be a part of the community, and to know that they are of value, and, that this could be a safe place to really be a part of something and develop. And I'm sure they could also, if they're interested in booking a session with you, they could find that through your website as well as your book and podcast. It's all there on juliereisler.com as well too.
Yes, everything is there. And I was going to say, Jacob, you are somebody I'm going to be bringing in, thought leaders and spiritual teachers, to do pop-up classes in the sanctuary. And hopefully you will be one of them, because I would love to have you. So we'll talk later, but yes, I would love to have you and other teachers and
thought leaders and all that.
Leaders. Yeah, it's an open tent. I love that. Yes. And if there's interest to connect further with me, my website, you can book a time to chat or do a one-off session or just see what's going on. Or I love connecting with, I love people. I love connecting with anyone who is on this path. I really do. It helps me to feel not alone as well. It does.
Oh yeah. It's, when you're giving, you're also receiving too. And hopefully you feel that as well. Ram Dass would say, sometimes we have like a word, he was a therapist too, and then a client, and we just see ourselves as separate. But when we're providing therapy, it's like that symbiotic dynamic where we're all just connected, that infinity of eight, or that seesaw, where we're working with each other. It's not just one over the other, one with the other. And, you're not just giving, you're taking in. And I know certainly clients could give us so much inspiration and joy and love in our lives that we are able to receive too. So I'm sure, like you, I don't see myself as a healer or therapist. I'm just a part of the healing exchange. There. So it's a beautiful thing. Now, obviously, we've climbed a lot of rungs on this Wisdom Jacob's Ladder podcast today. We're talking about Abraham before. Now we're talking about Jacob's. It's very biblical here at the end, very, very Genesis-esque. But are there any other last insights that you have, or last messages that are coming to you during this time where you feel like, hey, you know what? Mic drop, we're good. Or
yeah. The only thing that's coming through, and I just want to say thank you. I've loved this conversation, and my prayer is for our listeners that this has been really powerful. The one thing that I'm hearing, and I think I said this before, but in case I wasn't clear, what I'm really hearing, and it's like I'm hearing this in a like, don't like say this please, which is don't underestimate the power that really does lie within you, within each of us, this divine power. So, for example, and this might be a really good practice. I do this every morning. Of recent, I've been doing this, acknowledging you are, there's something breathing you. There's something that it's got your billions of cells working in excellent order. That there's this force beating your heart. Like I didn't do anything to beat my heart this morning. You didn't do anything to make sure you're breathing. You're breathing. And it can be helpful to go to the physical sensations, our bodies are what is working, what is literally working through this loving force. And that, just the awe around that. And if you take a moment in the morning to really acknowledge, so something like standing up and saying good morning to your billions of cells, good morning to my heart, good morning, divine power, I am listening, just a very simple acknowledgement. And it's, to me, like that relationship, we have free will. So when we take a moment to turn our will and focus it, like, again, Sagittarius, the arrow, towards this greater power, the divine, universal, cosmic force, whatever you call it, watch what happens. Watch how you feel. Watch, seriously, the synchronicities, your intuition, the miracles. We are all connected. Not one human being or plant being or animal being is not connected to this one divine force, even though it looks like billions of different things. Don't underestimate literally the loving, intelligent force that is in your cells, that's coursing through your veins. And perhaps just take a moment today to acknowledge that, notice what changes in your energy and how you feel. That has been extremely healing for me, mind, body, spirit. And yeah, I'm just hearing that reminder that we really have more guidance and love that is us than we may remember or might see in the moment. And we can always shift into our heart space, into realizing, oh yeah, I am also human and I'm divine. And I'm going to focus on my divinity today. That's what I got.
I love it. I think we should stop looking thousands of miles away from miracles and recognize that we are the miracle. We have that going on inside of us, and to stop overlooking all these incredible things that are happening at each given moment in time. And I still have no idea how any person who works in surgery, the medical industry, doesn't believe in this stuff, but I'm sure it's been moving for a lot of people who are involved, because it's just, how could you deny the miracles that are right in front of you, just on a physical medical basis? And so, yes, absolutely. We have to really notice these things that we overlook as tremendous miracles of life. Well, Julie Reisler, I thank you for your generous time, for sharing your words of wisdom, for bringing insights and transformations to all of our viewers. And we'd love to have you back here on the channel. I encourage my viewers to check out your website, your platforms. I know you're on Instagram as well too, and other social media platforms. So do follow her work, as well as check out her podcasts and YouTube platform and many other offerings. So Julie, thank you for being our honored guest and really upping the vibes today, and really honing us in on our own gifts and intuition.
Thank you so much. And thank you to your beautiful listeners. It's been an honor.
Well, that was a wonderful interview with Julie. I got tremendous insight and a lot of tools to really use in my own life, and I'm sure you did as well. So thank you for tuning into this conversation with Julie. We really touched on a lot of areas that could be of support on your own spiritual and mental health and emotional journey. So thank you for tuning in. We'll see you here next week on the Wisdom Jacob's Ladder.